Hello weirdos, welcome back to my channel. My name is EmmaAbe and we have the baby. Yeah, we have her today because I'm back in my hometown. Yeah, are you being a little sleepy? You just want to cuddle? Well, I just want to cuddle with you. So you can just sit on my lap. You sit on my lap? Be a good girl, sit on my lap. Well, I've got some, well, first of all, happy Pride. Because it's Pride. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in May because it's really late, but oh my god, I cannot say how freaking chaotic the last 5 weeks of my life have been. Essentially, I've been doing a lot of job searching and I did find a job. I accepted a job. I'm really excited. I'm going to be a computer science teacher. I'm really excited, but I am moving halfway across the country. I'm going to be moving to Boston, which is really exciting because my brother goes to school in Boston, so we'll get to hang out a bunch. But it is a new city that I haven't really lived in before, and I'm just, it's very, very stressful. I'm going to try and be as consistent as I can be, but who knows with the craziness that's going to be coming with like this big change in my life. I read 12 books in the month of May, right? Yeah. And I'm kind of here to talk about that. So the first book that I finished in the month of May was Islands of Abandonment by Cal Flynn. And that was a book that I read for the BookTube prize. So I'm not going to rehash my feelings about it here. You can go and watch my BookTube prize video. I will link it in the description so you can see all of my thoughts on the BookTube prize videos for that round, which was the quarterfinals. The next book that I read was Fathoms. This is the world in The World in the Whale. This is by Rebecca Giggs. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. And this is a little bit different than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be a lot more sciencey, and it does like touch on a lot of the science, but it also like delves into like philosophy and a little bit of like climate change, which I like understand and like get. It just wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I still enjoyed it. It just wasn't the pure like science book where we talk about all aspects of the whale that I was expecting. And maybe that's just on me that I don't research a lot of books that I read beforehand. So moving on to the next book that I read, which was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've just sort of come to the conclusion that Taylor Jenkins Reid is not an author for me. I think that she writes very, very well. I love her style of writing. If she was writing about different subject material, I would read her books. And it's just a me thing. This is the second Taylor Jenkins Reid that I have read. I think this won the historical fiction category for the Goodreads Choice Awards, which is why I read it. Taylor Jenkins Reid writes about people rising to prominence in Hollywood or in the music industry, and stuff like that. And starlets and stuff like that. And that like whole like area, I just do not find very compelling or interesting, because in my opinion it's all kind of the same story, just like repackaged in different ways. You know, you have a person rising to fame and they have a partner. Lo and behold, fame gets to their head and they wind up cheating on their partner and it destroys their relationship. I just find that so boring. I'm sorry. And so this one, Malibu Rising, focuses primarily on the kids. So there are 4 kids. There are 4 kids of like this very, very famous like Hollywood actor, and they're dealing with like fame themselves, but also how they've grown up with their very largely absent father. And I just like, I thought it was like an interesting spin, but I just didn't find it compelling because I just think the subject material is boring. And there's kind of no getting around that for me. I think it's a good book. Like, if you like Taylor Jenkins Reid, you're gonna like this book. It's well written. I just don't find the topic interesting. And I don't really know how I get around that problem personally. So moving on to the next book that I read, which is The Black Tides of Heaven. This is the first book in the, like, I think Tesseract series. probably going to mispronounce it. And this is by Nguyen Yang. Since I got this book, the author has gone by different names. And so I picked this up because, like, I heard that it had, like, queer, like, representation, and I wanted to read it for the Asian Readathon, because the author is from Singapore. I thought it was very interesting. You're focusing on these two twins who, in this society, they don't figure out their gender until they're older, which I kind of appreciated. I like that idea to where you could explore, find different things. But these two twins, they are the daughter of this really powerful, like, figure in the monastery, basically. And so the girl twin, the one who winds up becoming a girl, can see the future, and the other one can't. And so there's this giant rebellion happening against this, their mother. The one who grows up to be a boy winds up joining and falling in love with people in the rebellion, and the opposite happens for the girl. And so I thought it was very, very interesting. I really liked it. I want to, like, continue the series to see what happens, like, kind of in the future. I love the lore. I love the queerness, all of that. I'm gonna keep going because I just got 12 books to look through and it's hot in my room. Okay, so the next book that I read is You'll Never Believe What Happened to Lacey. This is by Amber Ruffin and Lacey Lambert. They're sisters. I thought this was really cute and funny, but also very, like, harrowing at times because of the subject material is kind of everything between, like, the everyday, like, little racisms that happen to Black people and Black women especially, to really, really dark, heavy things. So the authors, Amber and Lacey, they're sisters. Amber works in New York, and Lacey works in, like, Omaha. So they'll, like, call each other and just regale themselves with the sometimes humorous but also sometimes very sad stories of racism that Lacey deals with in Omaha. And yeah, I found it very enjoyable. As, I guess, enjoyable as a book about racism can be. I thought it was humorous. I really like Amber Ruffin's style of comedy. So that's, I think, kind of why I lent well to this book. If you don't really like her style of comedy, you might not get as much out of this book. And you kind of have to, like, I don't know, acknowledge that, like, racism happens. Because I was looking on, like, Goodreads, and some people were like, oh, like, this isn't real. And I'm just like, oh my god, shut up. Yeah, I guess if you are coming from, like, a white person's perspective or a non-Black person's experience, like me, you kind of just have to, like, shut that part of your brain off and listen. I thought it was funny. I liked it. This I chose for, like, the My Choice for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and it's in the humor category. So those tend to not be books that, like, I super gravitate to, but I knew the author. I liked the author's comedic style, so I figured that I was going to go in and like this book, and I did. The next book is American Baby. This is by Gabrielle Glasser, and again, this is a book that I read for the BookTube prize, so I will point you to that video if you want to know more of my specific feelings about that book. And then I read Girls of Paper and Fire. This is by Natasha Nguyen, and I really enjoyed this. After I finished it, I, like, was like, okay, we gotta go to the library to go find the next book in the series, and I haven't read the next book yet, but I am trying to. Just gotta find a way to freaking fit it into my reading schedule. Oh god. This is the problem with series. Like, there just isn't enough time for me to read through them. Anyway, but this follows a young girl. She's a human girl. She's a paper cast, and she is selected to be a paper girl, which is basically a concubine for a year for the emperor, who is a moon cast. So those, like, are demons, but not in, like, the Western Christian sense of demons. It's more of just like spirits kind of ish, but he has like lots of like animal features. So she is, you know, brought to the palace to serve him as a concubine. She doesn't really want to do this, and throughout this journey she figures out that she's a lesbian, which is, we love it. She falls in love with this girl Blue, and who is also a paper girl, but isn't quite taking, she's not just laying down and taking it. She's fighting back in her own ways, and the main character joins up to kind of help out with that. I'm being vague because spoilers. Anyway, I'm really excited to get to the second one of this, and I really like this. Moving on to the next book that I read, which was Machine Hood. She's like looking at me. Look at her. Look at you. Look at you. You're so cute. This is a book kind of like in a society where you have like machines doing a lot of like grunt work. You have AI working a lot, and you also have like colonies on different worlds. Like humans have expanded, and yeah, so it's a really interesting world. You're mainly following these two women. You're following Welga, who is like an army person. She's like a bodyguard. I think she's like ex-military, but she's got some genetic things that are weird. She turns to her sister-in-law, Nithya, who is like this researcher in India, and she's asking Nithya for help. And so the two of them are doing all of this, but at the same time, there's like this Machine Hood, which is, they're kind of like carrying on terrorist attacks, and no one really knows. She's wiping her butt. Are you wiping your butt? Are you wiping your butt? I'm sorry, the doggo is she's wiping her butt. Oh my god, the doggo is distracting me. This is, I can't do this. Oh my god. Anyway, so they're trying to figure out like who is behind the Machine Hood, and yeah, I don't really want to give too much else away about this because I think it serves really well for you to not know anything kind of going in. I will say this wasn't as good as I was expecting it to be. It was a little bit underwhelming, but that being said, I did enjoy it. I did like it. And I would like recommend it to people because it's definitely not one of those books that casts all like machine as bad. And I think it's just a very, very interesting take on like this whole aspect of sci-fi. Maybe it's just because I haven't read a lot of sci-fi in this genre, but it definitely doesn't go the way of machine bad, human good. So take with that information what you will. The next book that I read was A Ghost in the Throat. This is by Dorian Ngiorfa. I cannot pronounce this, but this again was another book that I read for the BookTube prize. And again, go to that video if you want to see more of my thoughts on that. The next book I read is House of Leaves. This is by Mark Z. Danislawski, and I swear to freaking God, since I picked this up, this book has been following me around everywhere because I never used to see it in bookstores, and now I see it like practically every single Barnes & Noble or bookstore that I've been in. And I don't know why that is. That just seems to be like a coincidence, if anything. Yeah, so this book has like multiple layers, but basically it's a story of like this family that moves into this house, and they figure out that the house is bigger on the inside. I honestly enjoyed those parts more of the book. Yeah, so that is like kind of like the base layer of the book, and then that story is written down in a book, and it's found by like researchers who are trying to find out like basically, is this a true story? Like what is, like they're analyzing the text, and so there is a person who's kind of like found this manuscript and is writing it down, and he kind of goes crazy. That I found to be like, that aspect of like him I found to be less compelling. And then there's like another layer of just people analyzing on top of that, if that kind of makes any sense. So there's lots of footnotes, there's lots of like weird tangents and stuff like that, but I enjoyed the core story of people trying to figure out what happens in this house, and it plays a lot with format. But here you can kind of see, this is like this, and then there's just kind of words everywhere. I think that's really effective because the entire thing isn't written like that. Like if you just open a page, it probably won't look like that. But I think the parts where it uses that, it uses it pretty effectively because it gets to the point of it's kind of showing a lot of like emotions through the formatting on the page. Anyway, I just find that to be that's not something that super happens often in books. And I just liked it. I thought it was an effective horror book. Was I scared? No. But it was an interesting thing to experience. The next book is People We Meet on Vacation. And I'm gonna be honest, I was writing that postcard, this little like note, and I was like, what do I remember from People We Meet on Vacation? Not that much. I know that Emily Henry is not an author for me. I just don't enjoy her romances. Which is not to say that you're not allowed to enjoy her romances. You absolutely are. They're just not for me. There's just something about them that I just don't get. Or it just doesn't really connect with me. I think there was one point where I like put the book down and I don't remember why. And I just said, I don't understand heterosexual people. Yeah. So I think that's just kind of where I am with Emily Henry. She is a good author. She writes like, obviously her book sells. They're just not for me. And I think that's okay. Yeah, like let me try and like tell you what I remember from this book, which really is not a lot. You have these two people who were like best friends, like they met in college, and they'd go on like a trip in the summer, like every summer, and then something weird happened this one summer where they like got into a fight, I guess. I don't really remember why. Maybe it's because it wasn't explained very well, or I'm just not remembering the contents of the book. The female like reaches out to her best friend like after like several years have passed, like I don't really remember how long, and she kind of asked to go on like this one last trip, and they were gonna go on a trip before like he went to like a wedding, I guess. I don't remember who the wedding was for. Yeah, and they reconnect. There's a part where they get like trapped outside of their Airbnb and they have sex. I don't remember. I generally just do not remember a lot of this book, and I read it last month. Like I generally remember more of the other Emily Henry book that I read, which I don't remember the name of that one. I don't necessarily know if that's a comment on quality or anything. Her books are not for me. They are not for me. I've read two, and I think I've kind of gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't really want to read you anymore. Same with Taylor Jenkins Reid. Dang. But I read it because I think it won. What did it win? So it ran People We Met on Vacation. People We Meet on Vacation won the romance category for the Goodreads Choice Awards. So the next book the last book actually that I finished in the month of May was The Veiled Throne by Ken Liu. And I keep saying this, Ken Liu, this book I don't think was as good as the second book in the series. This is the third book in the series. We get more, I feel like this book is very much like a filler book, if that makes any sense. There's a lot of stuff that has to be set up and explained. We have to have new characters put in play, have their relationships grow between certain people, etc., etc. It's all set up for the last book in the series, which is going to be the fourth book, I think. Don't quote me on that. There could be more after there. So it's more of just kind of like setting up new players, new relationships, the dynamics between people. I don't feel like a lot actually happened in this book. That being said, I still liked it because we still got to meet these new people, and the end, I really enjoyed the whole restaurant battle at the end. Like, I found that entertaining, but there wasn't really like much happening other than just set up stuff for, I'm guessing is going to be like the big showdown in the last book, which I'm super excited for. There's a lot happens, like my girl Thera, Princess Thera, shit happens. She's traumatized in this, and I'm just over here like, I don't want to give spoilers, but I'm like, I bet you that they're not dead. I bet you that they're not dead, and it's gonna come back in the fourth book. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Yeah. So I think this is like a solid entry, but it definitely does feel very filler-y. I don't think it's one that you can skip though, because I think a lot of the dynamics and relationships and information revealed in this one is going to be important in the fourth one. But I don't really know until we get the fourth one, which I just want to come out. Yeah, I'll say this again, and I've said it before. Ken Liu is quickly becoming one of my favorite fantasy authors. I really like his books. What can I say? And I've only been really reading the Dandelion Dynasty. Want him to keep writing because I like his worlds that he builds. They're awesome. Oh, there you go. There is the books that I read. I would hold up the baby, but she is resting on my bed and I don't want to disturb her. There you go. Let me know what is something that you read in May that you enjoyed, and if you didn't, leave a little like heart emoji in the comments to let me know that you got this far. All right. But that's it. Have a great week. Bye bye.